What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU. Right now, I'm actually on my way to see the premiere for Venom, Let There Be Carnage, so it would be appropriate that I would talk about Venom and, of course, Spider-Man today. Today, we have details on a new scene from Spider-Man No Way Home. Some of you may have heard about this yesterday, but I can personally tell you that it fits into a real plot leak, which I am going to talk about today. You've probably heard me talk about this plot leak that has been proven to be real. This scene is actually a part of this, and in this video I'm going to be connecting the two together. Then I'm going to talk about the Spider-Man universe as a whole and talk about how it's expanding, how a new movie for the Spider-Verse is going to be coming out soon, and how Spider-Man will most likely be in that film as well. And not to mention, it does look like the Venom universe and the MCU could be one. They could actually be the same universe, and apparently we're going to figure that out in Venom Let There Be Carnage. So a lot to break down today, and if you are new and you want to stay up to date on all Spider-Man, Venom, and MCU news, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. So this scene is actually a very particular scene from the actual official trailer that we got. And it's interesting because people seemingly knew about this scene before we got the actual trailer, before the actual trailer was even leaked, because a few days before we got that leaked trailer. But there were some people doing designs of this scene before the trailer even came out. And now it makes sense considering the fact that we're getting a little bit more details about this scene. Somehow before this scene got out, and now we're finding out even more about it. The scene is where Peter and Doctor Strange are seemingly fighting each other. We all know of the scene where Peter Parker and Doctor Strange are on the train. Strange multiplies the train and Peter looks around kind of in shock. Now in the trailer, they seemingly begin to fight when Doctor Strange says the problem is Peter is trying to live a double life. We then see Strange kind of knock the astral projection of Peter out of his body. He kind of knocks his soul out of his body. And the reason that he seemingly does this is because of what is in his hand. If you look closely at the left hand of Spider-Man, you can see that Peter Parker is holding some type of artifact. It seems to be in the shape of a cube, and it does seem to be very important enough for Peter to try and take and Strange to go after him for. Now this report of this scene is coming from thecosmiccircus.com, and this is what they have to say about this cube artifact. They state that the cube's nature is actually original to the MCU and not something that has been seen in Marvel Comics before. However, they go on to say, but more on that another time, not giving any more details about the cube. Fortunately, I do know a little more about the cube, which I'll talk about in a bit, but let's finish this scene first. The Cosmic Circus goes on to say that they have exclusively learned that during this chase sequence, there will be a point when Steven will actually use the Cloak of Levitation to try and trap Spider-Man during this chase. And again, more on the chase in just a bit, but they go on to say, so, by technicality, Peter will don Strange's iconic cloak at one point during the chase sequence, much like we saw his variant counterpart in What If. However, instead of the cloak teaming up with Spider-Man like it did in What If, it's actually going to be going against him. It's still going to be Strange's, since Strange is alive and not a zombie, and apparently he is going to use this to hold Peter in place and bring him back to him in order to confront him directly. So that'll be a cool scene to see. We kind of saw the cloak fight on its own during What If, but now we're going to see it happen live action against Spider-Man. Now, as far as the cube is concerned, and as far as this so-called chase is concerned, here's what we know. Peter, in the beginning of No Way Home, is going through all the repercussions of Mysterio's lie. Mysterio, of course, said that Peter Parker attacked him and then killed him. We know that Peter is going to go to court in the beginning of No Way Home, and we know that things get hard enough and rough enough that he ends up going to Doctor Strange and asks Doctor Strange to cast a spell to make everybody forget that he's Spider-Man. This is something that a plot leak told us months before the first trailer even came out, and here's what the plot leak has to say about the rest of it, about the cube and the chase. The plot leak says that the spell goes wrong, and we do hear Doctor Strange telling Peter that he is tampering with the spell as he's doing it in the trailer. So the spell goes wrong, and it ends up bringing 5 spider villains from other dimensions to the MCU, and of course we know which ones they are: Doc Ock, the Green Goblin, Electro, Sandman, and the Lizard. Norman Osborn is talking to the others, asking what is the last thing they remember, and they all say that Spider-Man killed them. Although Sandman didn't die, and he left on good terms with Peter Parker, so I wonder if he's taken a little bit before the good stuff happens with Peter. But basically, they're being kept in some sort of a magical prison that Doctor Strange is holding them in. Doctor Strange wants to send them back to where they came from. However, the villains argue that if they do that, they are just going to die. They're going to go back to that same exact point where they died and die. So Peter doesn't want to send them back because he feels bad that another Spider-Man kills them. And here's where things get important. It says that Norman Osborn manipulates Peter Parker into releasing the villains. And from here, Peter fights Strange and breaks the key, which is a cube that held them captive, and the villains are now free. So this scene that we are apparently going to be seeing right here is this scene. The scene where Doctor Strange kind of does that astral projection knock, where Peter is holding the cube, is most likely this scene. Now, it does say that when the villains break out, they start to terrorize New York. And one would think that if they got loose in the Sanctum, Strange could have some type of procedure or measurements in place for defensive procedures to stop them somehow from getting outside of the Sanctum. However, since the key is apparently what is holding the villains captive, it is a possibility that they could actually be inside of that cube, because they are outside in this scene, and if the cube breaks here and it's holding them, that could be how they get released into New York. We'll have to wait and see, but it does right now seem like the key is some sort of a prison or the key to a prison, and it seemingly is going to be an MCU proprietary artifact, so I am very curious to learn more about this. And I'm also very curious to see how this universe connects to Venom, because according to some recent reports, the Venom Sony universe and the Spider-Man MCU universe are the same. They're not different. Now, this is kind of contradictory to what we knew in the past, but keep in mind that Sony did just change their universe's name. It used to be the SPUMC, the Sony Picture Universe of Marvel characters, but now it's simply Sony Spider-Man Universe. Why the change right before Spider-Man No Way Home and Venom Let There Be Carnage come out? This has been expected for a while, but now it's getting a little bit more real the closer we get to Venom Let There Be Carnage. And according to a recent report from Deadline on their Hero Nation podcast, they said two things. Firstly, Venom is reportedly expected to connect to the MCU version of Spider-Man, and secondly, a new Sinister Six film is apparently going to be off the ground pretty soon. At least that is Sony's goal. Now, as far as connecting Venom to Spider-Man, there are rumors about a post-credit scene in Venom Let There Be Carnage that does exactly this, connect Venom to the MCU. That will obviously have to wait until we actually see the post-credit scene, but as far as a Sinister Six film is concerned, we do know that they tried to make one in the past before. They had a director planned and everything for it. However, it didn't get made. But recently, back in 2019, Spider-Man franchise producer Amy Pascal teased the eventual formation of the Sinister Six, telling us that all of the villains have actually been introduced in the last two Spider-Man films, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, since we are getting a different Sinister Six in Spider-Man No Way Home, those plans could have changed a little bit, but it does still look like an actual movie just focusing on the Sinister Six is going to happen eventually at some point in time, which makes us wonder, are these villains going to die in this universe? Are they going to go free? What exactly is going to happen? We'll have to wait till No Way Home to find that out, but this could come as good news to some fans because a lot of people want to see just one Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, go up against the Sinister Six without any help from the other two Spider-Man or Doctor Strange or anybody else. A lot of people really just want to see Spider-Man on his own for once. But let me know what you think about all of this in the comments down below. What do you think about the scene, and are you excited for the Venomverse to finally connect to the MCU? Let me know, and don't forget to like this video, and of course for live updates you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.